If you're not one of those irrational China-owned car brand haters, and if $5,000 of a price difference is not make it or break it in your decision making, chances are that you're looking either at ZST model or at HS model. I am a private owner of both cars. I'm not a dealer, I'm not associated with any dealers. So in this video, I thought I'm going to very quickly list a few points about both of our cars, ZST and my HS, the one that I sit in right now. Both cars are great for what they are. They are great for their price range. They are great for what we bought them for. There are pluses and minuses to both, to ZST and to HS, and I thought I'll summarize them for you. Alright, so let's start with the point where we'll get the obvious out of the way. For value for money, both cars, you are not going to go wrong. As far as what's bad about them, especially about HS, I already published one video, and I'm not going to stop on those points here in this one. So take a look at that video. They are not showstoppers, those points. So price value, I think you can't go wrong with the ZST or with HS. As far as design and the looks of both cars are concerned, design is always very, very subjective, isn't it? In my opinion, so I picked the bigger one, I picked HS, my wife got the ZST. We also have slightly different use cases for the cars, for how we use them, but I think with design you also can't go wrong. Subjectively, I like the look of both cars. I think both of them look cool and both of them don't look boring. I don't like boring, you know, I just don't. And I find a lot of other kind of more typical brands, typical shapes, other kind of stuff. It's a bit boring. These ones, neither ZST or HS are boring. I think, again, you can't go wrong with either. As far as the sense of luxury goes, if that's important to you, HS will win over ZST any time of the day. ZST is still quite nice for what it is, but at the same time, you can't compete with these finishes of this leather here or above the dashboard, real leather seats, electric seat adjustments on both passenger side and the driver's side. Both seats have electric seat adjustments. This central panel over here has a cooling ability, which I have not tested thoroughly, but we're about to undertake a long intercity drive kind of for Christmas, for the holiday. So I will let you know if this actually works, but there is a cooling ability here, which is amazing. This panel also slides forward, kind of allowing you a little bit better elbow rest in case that's something that you pay attention to. It's a small addition. As far as this sense of luxury and quality of the finishes inside of the car, again, if this is important to you, then HS absolutely wins hands down over ZST. If we expand that to passenger comfort, I already started talking to you about the elbow rest here, additional elbow rest in HS. I can also talk specifically about the passenger space, backseat passenger space. There is a lot more of it in HS. And also the back seat is actually reclinable. It reclines a little bit. It is not freely reclinable, just like forward seats, front seats are, but there are two positions for the passenger seat to recline in. It's much nicer. Also, if you have fussy kids, just like I do, and you plan to do family trips in a car, then of course, people who will be at the back, your kids, your parents perhaps, those people will have a much better time in HS over the longer trips. There is a foldable little, let's call it a table, usability of which I suppose is questionable, but it's better to have one than not. At the very least, it offers extra space to store your bottles and to put a couple of things there, snacks, I don't know what. HS definitely offers better comfort. There is no question about it compared to ZST. The cabin space itself and the sound insulation on the road. I know we're not driving right now because that would interfere with the sound of recording of this video, but you have to take my word for it that sound insulation from the road and general kind of spaciousness, again comfort, but we're talking space primarily and sound insulation, and this point of HS wins over ZST any time of the day. Suspension is much quieter, wheels are a little bit bigger in HS as well. That contributes to, I suppose, better insulation from the road as far as the sound is concerned. And the car is wider. It feels wider. It feels wider on the road, and we'll talk about this in the next point. And it feels wider inside. So for the passenger, of course, it's nicer to have more space. Like, who would argue with that? So you feel that space width-wise. You feel that space in HS a lot more. It's a much more comfortable, much better experience to drive for a fair bit. These HS and ZST, for that matter, they are not performance cars. They are not sports cars. Let's not lie to ourselves. That's not why you're buying them, right? So for that matter, talking about engine power, I think is a little bit out of place. I don't know if I'm doing the car any favors trying to basically even compare it to anything power-wise. But if we're comparing HS to ZST together, just between two of them, you will get a little bit more of a sense of power from HS. HS is bigger, HS has different aerodynamics, HS is slightly heavier, but it also has a slightly bigger 1.5 turbo petrol engine, this version. It is not an all-wheel drive, it's a two-wheel drive. You do feel that power. It does have a bit of that sense of punch that in ZST, actually ZST has its own things to compensate for it. We'll talk about it in a second. But I do think that overall, if you are purely about the power and the sense of that power on a freeway, then HS again wins. The 360-degree camera, the feature that comes with the top-of-the-range model of HS and ZST Essence model, the 360-degree camera is fantastic. It's fantastic for parking, it's fantastic for curbs, for seeing the curb as you're pulling over, not to scratch the rims, to reverse. It's great, it's great. And it is vastly better in HS. Much better quality, better guiding lines, computer-generated guiding lines that show you exactly where you're parking into, much better visibility, and just quality of the picture is much better. So you will ask me, where does ZST win, if at all? Does ZST win anywhere? Well, other than already mentioned price. It is even cheaper than HS. I paid 36 for HS, and we paid 32 for ZST. Okay, price, slightly winning there on the price. But for us, again, in this video, it wasn't the critical point. What is critical? And where does ZST win hands down? Where would I recommend ZST hands down to you? It is in mobility around town and the easiness of the drive. If you are an kind of slightly less certain, less confident driver, if you have any impairments whatsoever and you need to adjust your driving experience more so, if you would like better visibility of the road in front of you rather than this big nose that HS right now kind of has in front of me, I can see well, but in ZST it's a different story. ZST offers you much better visibility, I think. ZST is smaller. You feel smaller in the car, and yes, that takes away from the comfort and long journey drives with the passengers, with the people at the back and stuff like that. Of course it comes at a cost, but to zip around the town and to make your driving experience as easy as possible, parking experience as easy as possible, quick acceleration, quick changing of the lanes and that kind of stuff, ZST wins hands down. Hands down. I would also specifically point out that the experience with both cars have rather gorgeous, rather pleasant steering wheels. Very pleasant finishes on both cars, on this HS one that I'm sitting in right now and ZST. But the rotational experience of the steering wheel is a lot firmer and a lot harder in HS. But ZS, as far as turning the steering wheel very quickly as you turn into sharper corners around town, is much easier, much more pleasant experience. Whether you're struggling, whether you're not struggling, whether you care, but you will feel it. It's a much more pleasant experience in ZST. And also ergonomics. I already gave the win to HS overall for the creature's comfort inside of the car, especially if you're talking about a longer drive somewhere. Yeah, HS will win, sure. But as far as the ergonomics for the driver and for the front seat passenger, I suppose, even just this little panel here in the middle where you are supposed to either be charging your phone or just throw your phone and the wallet in, I find this kinda, let's call it honestly, slightly try hard to look more luxury panel of the top of the range HS, I find it a little more try hard than useful. Yes, it's kind of nice, and when you close it, it looks metal and all that kind of stuff. It looks like it's covering up all those USB ports, sure. But what's the use of that if I need to fit my phone here into this side slit here? and your phone might be differently sized. And even with my size of the phone that seems to fit here, it's not that pleasant. It's not that convenient. Whenever I drive the ZST, I enjoy it so much more. I just throw my phone there. I can see exactly how I would connect all the wired kind of connections for, you know, for the infotainment system and everything. It's just much more accessible. I actually like ergonomics on ZST more. I like it more. Let me know in the comments down below if you have a view on that. I hope you enjoyed this video once again. I hope you found it a little bit useful. Maybe the ultimate kind of success criteria for me would be if I did help you make a choice. If I did, amazing. Have a lovely Christmas. Come back for more videos in the new year. We will definitely have a lot more to talk about because we're about to, as I said several times already, we're about to undertake a fairly long trip up north from Sydney to all the way almost Brisbane, Gold Coast. Thanks very much for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll be speaking with you again in 2022. See you later. Bye-bye for now.